Dr. Sridhar. Can you please join me here? The two topics are now open for discussion. If there are any questions from the audience.
I'd like to ask you about jet lag. Like people who are I'm sorry.
Good afternoon, ma'am. My question for Dr. Sarita, ma'am. Ma'am, how early can NAFLD present? Is it seen in childhood also? And how early can it be detected and help in screening of other comorbidities?
I'm not sure about how early it can present, but yes, because in obese children, you tend to find a lot of fatty liver. So I won't be able to tell you whether it's 6 months, 1 year. I mean, that cutoff, there's no cutoff as to when. But yes, it can be present in early childhood, especially in an obese child. Like I said, type 1 also, you can get fatty liver. And type 1s, you know, are the classical ages from 5 to 15. Your second part of the question was?
How early can it help in detecting the other comorbidities? So it can help.
Yeah, so of course, as soon as the patient comes, if you do an ultrasound screening, you find fatty liver, then you would, as it is, you would investigate the patient for the other complications. So that is a good marker at least.
Thank you.
Madam, NAFLD can be reversed after containing the risk factors like obesity, dyslipidemia, and good glucose control. Can you reverse the NAFLD?
No, we can't reverse the NAFLD. We cannot reverse the NASH, but a little bit of NAFLD, yes. Not NASH. Once it progresses to NASH, we can't.
UDCA will work, madam?
But UDCA again, I agree. But when I give you those 2014 guidelines, it's not advised, neither in vitamin E nor UDCA.
So you mean to say NAFLD is a progressive disorder? It's a progressive disorder.
Yeah, I told you not all of them would progress. About a quarter of them would progress to NASH.
My question is regarding dyslipidemia and the NAFLD, madam,
Okay.
and the role of steroids and reversing the. Suppose we put the patient on steroids, statins
For?
or fenofibrate,
Okay.
and will it reverse it, madam?
No, it will not reverse.
Most of the times it is actually coincidence. Now, madam, it is actually it is also a part of dyslipidemia or metabolic syndrome, and NAFLD is also a part of metabolic syndrome. So, putting the patient on statin or fenofibrate, by reverting the biological abnormality, biochemical abnormality, whether this can also be reversed, madam.
Yeah, see, when I gave you the data for diet, then for exercise, and again, I didn't mention statins because I was not referring specifically to dyslipidemia. I told you that there is some reversal of steatosis, but not once it leads to NASH. Yes, even with statins, with diet, with exercise, with metformin, there is reversal of steatosis, but not once it progresses to NASH.
And suppose in a NASH patient, whether statin is indicated, madam. Suppose the patient is AST, ALT levels are more than 3 times the normal.
Yes.
Can we give statin, madam?
Yes, why not? We would give it. We would give it.
Because one of the contraindications for statin is that if it increases, means we are supposed to stop the statins and all, madam.
I agree, but then you would monitor your patient. Here the cause of increase in the enzymes is NAFLD, and if you give statins, even then if you've noted, we can give glitazones as well, because it reduces the intracellular fat. Even pioglitazone would be relatively contraindicated if the enzymes are raised. But here, of course, if it's more than 2 to 3 times, you would not give.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, if it's more than 2 to 3 times, we would avoid glitazone, we would avoid a statin in that case. We would start off with metformin, and once the enzymes come down, then we would treat the dyslipidemia.
And the transition is also not very rampant. NAFLD, NASH, cirrhosis, and hepatocellular carcinoma, even that is not rule that it has to follow the same pathway and all.
No.
So in that way, whether we have any biochemical markers to analyze the patient is going for cirrhosis or something else, madam?
Only biopsy. Biopsy
Only
is the
biopsy.
gold standard for the diagnosis.
Thank you.
Now you sit in a health checkup.
Please
Fatty
use the
liver,
mic. Please use the
fatty
mic.
liver, altered enzymes, hypertriglyceridemia. You inquire the family history of diabetes there. So whether we need to categorize them as some sort of pre-diabetic and monitor them. You talk about biopsy, drugs, but in practice, what do you do? What do you expect us to do? And you also sometimes, you told me that you go to schools and prevent. So ideally, we should lobby and some sort of public health initiative that very rarely we rarely unite or we act. So at least in your clinics, what do you do? What do you think that we should do together? Yeah.
To do for what? I mean, once we find an ultrasound evidence.
I'm talking about the obesity and NASH as a consequence. Overall.
I mean, once a
NAFL,
patient,
yeah,
we would make an ultrasound diagnosis. We would, at least in our center, we would not usually do a biopsy.
Monica, how do you, whether this is an entity, as a disease entity, or just like that it's a lifestyle?
No, it is a clear-cut disease entity. It's a clear-cut disease entity which has been established over the last 34 years. I told you 1980 was the first time that these cases, 20 cases were described.
In theory, it's all right, but in practice, these people, they just come and go. So that's why whether it's dietary intervention alone is due, or we need to monitor them.
Patients with NAFLD, with or without diabetes, should be observed regularly for the development of subsequent diabetes. If they have any risk factor, then it should be corrected. So we should prevent lifestyle modification.
Is the best method of diagnosing whether it is an ultrasound scan or whether you have to go for MRI?
If you take the imaging modalities, then MRI is certainly the best, but definitely not warranted in any each and every case. Certainly not. Ultrasound is good enough to make a clinical diagnosis, but I told you the gold standard is a biopsy. Not infiltration. They will specifically write fatty liver, and a good ultrasonologist would be able to tell you what stage, because even in ultrasound there are specified stages.
I think Dr. Sarita had a question to Dr. Sridhar.
About jet lag, people who are traveling very frequently, and there was a lot about maybe a decade ago, melatonin tablets were available, and then this pineal gland is just sitting there doing nothing, or is it doing something? I mean, this is a genuine question.
So it's quite interesting. In fact, I first spoke on melatonin and the rhythm regulator at one of the API conferences in Chennai. Ideally, we don't travel as often. That melatonin is mostly used as a treatment rather than trying to prevent obesity or diabetes mellitus. But since you mentioned it, I was wondering if the airline pilots or the air hostesses, they could be studied, and but then again, it's not that they have only disturbance in sleep. They'll be traveling, then the kind of food would be different. Some people would be exercising, and at Chicago last month, one person was getting afraid of getting her DEXA done of the hand. Then that man asked, how did you come from Turkey? She said, I flew. Oh, doesn't matter. You are exposed to 500 times the amount of radiation to what you're getting now. So it would be an interesting thing. Maybe if some of you would like to look at the air hostesses compared to the ground staff and see whether there is a difference in the prevalence of obesity, perhaps diabetes mellitus.
Thank you, Dr. Sridhar. I think we will conclude the session because there's going to be another talk here at 5:30 by Dr. Peter Nilsson, chaired by Dr. Subhankar Chowdhury. So let me conclude the session. Thank you very much, Dr. Sarita and Dr. Sridhar, for the excellent talks, and the audience for the interaction. And I would like to thank Dr. Krishna Sheshadri for having given me the privilege of chairing the session. Thank you.